Yo, what is up guys, Chillfeed here, back bringing you another Borderlands 3 video. Now, since there are so many videos about the best guns and weapons out there already, and so many build videos including almost always the same weapons, I thought it was some time to give some love for the weapons that I personally have not seen talked about often enough and are in my opinion quite underrated. Keep in mind that this list is my personal opinion, and although the strength of a weapon is obviously a big factor, it doesn't necessarily mean that a weapon is better than another just because it is higher on the list, just in my opinion more underrated. Leave a comment down below right now what you think are the most underrated weapons in your opinion. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, or one of the weapons that came up to your mind made the list, or leave a like if the weapon that didn't come to your mind made the list. If you are one of the guys that are new here watching, why not subscribe to my channel for more honest and quality content in the future? And now without further ado, here are my top 10 most underrated weapons in Borderlands 3. Starting off this list is the Wagon Wheel Jacob's revolver that I just wish had either more shots to shoot before having to reload, or even a lightning fast reload time to make up for it. In old school Jacob's manner, you can fire this thing as fast as you can pull the trigger, and it does great base damage when you can land your shots, but like I said, you can only shoot 4 to I believe 6 shots depending on the version you got before reloading, and as tempting as it is to spam this thing, I found that sometimes it was better to take your time with these shots because the reload speed is in my opinion not fast enough. Unlike other Jacob's weapons though, when you land your shots on an enemy, the bullets will always split into multiple ricocheting projectiles and even more projectiles on critical hits that instead of targeting other enemies will fly towards a random direction. This makes the Wagon Wheel a fun weapon to use in closed buildings with lots of enemies close to each other, and it makes it a great alternative to some of the other Jacob's revolvers. I just think that many players like myself just prefer the ricochet towards the nearest enemy for some more crowd control in more open areas, but I was surprised about how much fun the Wagon Wheel was after all. It is also a world drop, which means you can get it from any lootable source at any time during the game. Next up is the Maliwan SMG that is I believe held back just due to the fact that it is a Maliwan weapon with their stupid charge up time before shooting. That is the Tsunami. What I like about this SMG though is the incredibly high fire rate and the fact that it fires normal ricochet bullets as a Maliwan weapon, but also periodically shoots multiple corrosive or shock projectiles, which makes it best suited against most types of enemies in the entire game. Even though it lacks a little bit in base damage, it has, like I said, an insanely high fire rate combined with the, in my opinion, two most useful elements. So other than the charge up time, I really don't know why not more people are using this thing or talk about it at least. You can even get it pretty easily since it has an increased chance to drop from the Katagawa ball on Skyworld 27. There's also a save station outside of the arena, so make sure to at least give this underrated SMG a try. Probably my favorite sniper rifle in the entire game is coming in at number 8 as one of the most underrated weapons in Borderlands 3, which is the Splosion and another Jacob's weapon. And quite frankly, what is there not to love about the sniper rifle that fires explosive rounds that then split into 3 more projectiles and ricochet towards the 3 nearest enemies for even more explosions. It is also one of the best weapons to get when starting a new character, since it is super easy to get, and just look at the footage of me in normal mode without mayhem mods one-shotting 4 enemies at once sometimes. I think that this sniper rifle is just overshadowed by the sheer power of the Lyuda and the insane critical hit damage of the monocle, but what many people don't know is that the negative minus 33% critical hit damage is actually not true and instead is even a critical hit damage increase. At least that's what the wiki says, and I'm not good at math so don't quote me on that, but just read the wiki and the wiki is almost always right. I don't know why Gearbox still includes this on the item card though, or if this is even a bug or something, but but I know that I prefer the 3 ricocheting bullets and the lower zoom scope on the head Splosion over the monocle, and I know for a fact that this is Mr. Torque's favorite sniper rifle ever, so one more reason to definitely get it. Just get to Conrad's Hold, which is a place relatively late in the story on Pandora, kill the legendary hunt enemy Manvar close to the slaughter shaft entrance, and hope for it to drop the head Splosion for you. One of the weapons that might even be the least underrated, but definitely one of the most fun and strongest of them all, is the Torque Laser Sploder, and with that another world drop and another weapon Mr. Torque approves. I've seen this weapon included in only a few build videos so far, and even though it is, like I said, not the most underrated, it is in my opinion still underrated when I think about how good this assault rifle really is. I just love using it as my go-to cryo assault rifle for my Zane build, but it is great on almost any other character as well. Amara can really make use of any element, most can make great use of an incendiary version, and I had a lot of fun with the radiation laser Sploder build on flag. I imagine not many people are using it because of the limited range of the laser, and maybe even because in co-op it can lag a little in the damage department sometimes when you don't have a double penetrating prefix on it. Other than that, it is an awesome weapon in my opinion that should get some more love by the community. The Bekaa brings back a lot of memories from Borderlands 2, where it arguably was also quite underrated, even though many people thought it was one of the better pearlescent weapons in this game. Thinking about it, the combination of Maya's face lock, the B shield and the Bekaa might have been one of my favorites. But okay, enough nostalgia. Now why is the Bekaa one of the most underrated Jacobs assault rifles in Borderlands 3? Simply because I don't see anyone using it, talking about it or anything, and I'm not quite sure why. In my opinion, the Bekaa is awesome for many reasons and is kinda like an assault rifle version of the Lyuda. First of all, you can fire it as fast as you can pull the trigger, of course, and then it will shoot a projectile that will split into 3 projectiles in a horizontal pattern after a short travel distance that each deal massive damage when hitting an enemy's crit spot. You can get a Bekaa after completing every single legendary hunt challenge from Sir Hammerlock, so it's pretty easy to get if you are far enough into the story, and I definitely suggest you get one. I must admit though that it was not the most fun for Mose and Zane, so maybe that's the reason not many people play with it, but I absolutely love using it on Flag and Amara, so please give it a try. Before one of the latest patches, I probably would have not included the Wester gun on this list, but I think many people have yet to recognize how good this Mali 1 SMG is now, with the plus 25% damage buff. What makes this weapon so great in my opinion is that it has 0 charge time and deals splash damage with its projectiles, which makes it especially valuable for Mose, and since it can come with 2 of every element we have in the game, it's also usable for any other character. What's even better is that it's probably the easiest to obtain from all the legendary weapons that drop from an enemy. All you have to do is to complete the side mission Invasion of Privacy, which you can get on Sanctuary after meeting Maya and Ava, and then farm private beans on Athenas for an almost 100% chance at the Wester gun, which is an awesome weapon. Another weapon that received a buff recently is the Vladov assault rifle / shotgun called Phaser, and it's a weapon I just had to include on here because it is so good, at least for me. Unlike the Wester gun though, I already thought the Phaser was underrated before the plus 15% damage increase. It has a high fire rate, high magazine capacity, shoots elemental beams instead of bullets, can have any element, is not as ammo hungry as a Shredder Fire, and has an alternate firing mode with a shotgun that is almost as good as the standard firing mode. I don't know what more to say other than to get this weapon on any character and try it out for yourself. I think you will be as surprised as I was when first really using it. Unfortunately, some people might still not have been lucky enough to get one because it is a world drop and can drop from any lootable source in the game. Getting a spot on the podium is probably one of the best close range shock weapons in the entire game, the AAA. I've seen so many videos on YouTube where people left a comment saying, try the AAA, it's surprisingly good, but I haven't seen many videos about how good it really is, especially on a Mara with an electric banjo artifact and some of her close range or elemental damage skills. Even though this is classified as a pistol from Dahl, I found myself using it more like a 3-round burst shotgun with all of the projectiles deleting your enemy shields and health bars. It might not be the most noticeable when playing it, but the projectiles actually are fired in the shape of an A, which is in my opinion much better than the V shape of the 9V, which is otherwise almost identical to the AAA but not quite as good. It is so good on any character for just deleting shields, but definitely best used on a Mara with her insane elemental damage potential. Again, the AAA is a world drop and can only come with the shock element, so be on the lookout if you still don't own one.
Nobody kills me but me!
As some of you might know after my latest videos, I usually don't enjoy playing with an elemental projector artifact since it pretty much requires you to shoot at your own feet most of the time, which is fine if you like that, but it's just not for me. But with the COV assault rifle painless power, you will set yourself on fire automatically by just firing the weapon. Just like the Phaser, I thought this weapon was criminally underrated before even receiving a damage buff of plus 25%. I was even a bit surprised because I liked using the gun before and thought it could be quite strong already, but now after playing with it on Mo's with her incendiary damage boost, the additional damage boost from an elemental projector artifact, the sound and look of the gun and the Krieg reference, I just can't get enough of this weapon. It is also a world drop again, and not to be confused with the kinda similar look in Embrace the Pain, which is in my opinion not nearly as strong as the Painless power. Before I get to the number 1 weapon on this list, I wanted to give a few honorable mentions that were all close to making the list over the Wagon Wheel, but the Mali 1 Hellshock pistol has in my opinion too long of a charge up time and therefore too little damage to make up for it. The Flood Jacobs revolver can sometimes be very hard to control with its high recoil, and you can find yourself reloading more often than firing the gun sometimes with the insane fire rate. And the magnificent Vladov pistol was probably the closest with an insane magazine size and a recent damage buff, but what I don't like about it is that it can come with 3 different secondary firing modes, of which in my opinion the only good one is where you can get plus 25% increased fire rate for probably the highest fire rate in the game, but this is also the only way to make this weapon truly unique or even good in my opinion, so I ultimately decided to go with the Wagon Wheel. Alright, now I can definitely see a trend here with the weapons that recently got buffed. Coming in at the number 1 spot are actually 2 weapons, and the reason why I included both of them at number 1 is because they are in my opinion equally as good. Both seem to be very underrated, both of them can come with any element, and both of them are COV pistols. Just watch the gameplay and tell me they don't simply shred your enemies. I think that both of them might very well be some of the best pistols in the entire game now, and I have not seen many people really aware of that. If we are taking a closer look at the Skexel, it is definitely easier to obtain from the two of them, since you can get the Skexel from the legendary hunt enemy on Ascension's Bluff, and the Lenoche is a world drop only. What makes the Skexel so powerful is the elemental burst fire that also launches 1 to 3 explosive projectiles, which deal massive damage on your enemies, since the weapon received a plus 15% damage buff recently. The Lenoche, on the other hand, reminds me a lot of the Tadler SMG from Borderlands 2, with just how the weapon feels and shoots its projectiles. Other than the Tadler though, the Lenoche gets increased fire rate and reload speed when your action skill ends, and it also got a 20% damage buff in a recent patch. I found myself using the two pistols more like a shotgun up close again, so maybe this is another reason why I haven't seen many people using it. Otherwise, these guns are just amazing and a must get in my opinion.
The palm of my hand.
That's it guys, my personal top 10 underrated weapons list in Borderlands 3 so far. Thanks for watching, and make sure to leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with some of my choices. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more stuff like this and other stuff in the future. I also have a Discord server link down in the description that you can join if you are interested, and with that being said, I hope I see you guys in my next video.